My name is Stona Martirana, and for my Unit 2 project, I made a strength and conditioning program for soccer players. Why do athletes need strength and conditioning? It is not uncommon for athletes to not be able to develop in every area they need for the sport they play. For example, a cheer base will not be able to develop the strength that she needs just by going to practice. Soccer players are not able to develop proper flexibility just by stretching before practices and games, and they will not be able to develop the strength they need to win every 50-50 ball just by running drills. For my project, I met with Nick Sanchez, a varsity soccer player, and discussed 2 skills that he wanted to improve on. We decided on flexibility and explosiveness. To improve in these areas, I came up with a strength and conditioning program that worked the corresponding muscle groups for the skills. In my project, I also wanted to show the effectiveness of targeted strength and conditioning programs. I also wanted to show how to build a program for an athlete with specific goals. Although many don't realize it, soccer players need flexibility for many reasons. Not only does it reduce muscle soreness after activity, it helps prevent injuries and gives athletes the ability to use power through their full joint range of motion. Researchers claim the less flexible the muscle, the more easily sustains damage. Explosiveness is also a huge part of soccer because it gives you the ability to jump high for headers, change direction quickly, make it first to 50-50 balls, which is the majority of the game, and it is the most important skill for goalies when fighting for the ball. For initial testing, I had Nick perform 4 different tests to get a baseline for his leg flexibility. Our first test was the basic sit and reach to see his hamstring flexibility. We can see on the first take, Nick can only grasp his toes with the first knuckle on his fingers. Next up was prone quad range of motion, where we can see that Nick's foot can only come to about 2 to 3 inches off of his body. For our third test, Nick performed the Thomas test, where we can see his left knee is about 14 inches off of the mat, and his right knee is 15 inches off. For our last test, Nick performed the Patrick's test, where we can see his bottom leg is a significant amount off of the bench when he pulls his up leg in. For our flexibility workout, I had Nick perform a series of stretches to improve his hamstring, quad, and hip flexibility. For our first stretch, Nick sat in a pike position while I added weight to his back to increase the stretch. For a second stretch, Nick sat in a butterfly position while I once again added weight to his back and knees. For our third stretch, Nick performed a standing single leg quad stretch where he put one foot up on an object and bent the other leg to increase the stretch. For our final stretch, Nick performed a kneeling single leg pike where I once again added weight to his back to increase the stretch. We did this for 5 consecutive days. For the flexibility final testing, I had Nick perform the same test as before, only now we can see that in his sit and reach, he can grasp his toes all the way up to his third knuckle. On prone quad range of motion, we can see that Nick's heel is now touching his body and could possibly go further. On the Thomas and Patrick's test, we can see that Nick's left knee is 10 inches off of the table, while his right knee is 13 inches off. And for the Patrick's test, we can see that Nick's leg is now flat along the table, where before it was lifted off. For our explosiveness initial testing, Nick performed a 20-foot sprint in 1.83 seconds. For the explosiveness workout, I had Nick perform 4 different exercises that will increase his overall power and the time he will be able to use that power in. For the first exercise, Nick performed broad jumps, which will work all the muscles he needs to get high up in the air for those header balls. For a second exercise, Nick performed a power clean, which will improve his muscles' reaction time and the time to activate his full strength. For a third exercise, Nick performed kettlebell swings, which will help his muscles react to fast changes in direction. And for our last exercise, I had Nick do a resisted sprint, which will help him run even faster on the field when going for 50-50 balls. For explosiveness final testing, Nick once again performed the 20-foot sprint, only this time he made it in 1.78 seconds. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. Thank you.